Someone is Hiding on Alcatraz Island by Eve Bunting, Chapter 5. I heard Ranger Rick's tour come down the hill and I let it pass. I heard the toot as the boat came in and the toot as it went out. Still, I sat. It wasn't quite dark yet, but on a day like this, the dark would come early, swallowing up the island, dragging it down into the sea. Maybe that's what happened to it at night. Anything was possible in a place like this. I could see cold-eyed sharks swimming along Broadway, their split tails waving back and forth among seaweed that swayed from the bars of cells. An octopus curling itself in the corner of the black hole. A moray eel, its great jaws snapping out from that underground dungeon, its head waving and bobbing on the end of its thick, scaly neck. A ghost island. And tonight, I'd go down with it. I shivered and tried not to bawl. No kidding. I was so scared and cold and lonely, I felt about 6 years old. I thought about my father and how it might have been if I'd ever known him. Would I have been different? Maybe I would have been braver. Maybe I'd have fought the outlaws single-handed instead of hiding from them. I heard the last tour come down, and I heard the last boat, and I waited, imagining the outlaws checking everyone going on, getting mad at each other and yelping because somehow they'd missed me. A few minutes later, I heard the forlorn toot as the boat pulled away from the shore. I dragged myself up and went outside. Every muscle in my body was cramped. The boat was almost out of sight. It went in a dark churn of foam, spreading white at its stern. There was warmth in the glow of the lighted cabin. Inside, there'd be coffee smells, split popcorn crunching underfoot, the buzz of voices. The visitors were going home, and I was here. I let the boat go without me, and I was glad, because in that nice, cozy cabin or on that half-lighted deck, the outlaws would be prowling, buzzing like hornets, still looking for me. It was dark where I stood in front of the open mouth of the morgue. All at once, I was aware of the little noises around me. Somewhere far away, there was a clinking, like a chain rattling. The wind strummed softly through the slats that supported the water tower. The waves hissed and whispered against the dock. From somewhere in the bay, a buoy clanged. Below me, the cement area by the dock lay in pale pools of lamplight surrounded by shadows. The warning beam from the lighthouse slithered across the black water. Above me, the old prison lay dead, filled with its own memories. When something brushed against my leg, I gave a yelp. 2 yellow eyes shone up at me, and I felt the slinky pressure of the cat against my wet jeans. "You scared the spit out of me," I said out loud. "Where did you come from?" I bent to stroke the cat. Its fur was soft and wet, and a bunch of hairs came off on my hand. I wiped them away on my jeans. The cat's purring was the best thing I'd heard all day. "I nearly fainted, you know that, cat?" I said. "Come on," and I began hurrying down the hill. And then I saw a movement at the side of the restroom. A man came from behind it, a ranger, wearing a ranger hat and a slick black poncho, and swinging something in his hand. Relief was a great tide of warmth in my stomach. There was someone here. I'd been telling myself that there had to be, but underneath I hadn't been sure. I lifted my arm to wave and began to call, but the shout died in my throat. Another ranger was coming from behind the restrooms, a little fat one in a green ranger jacket, and now there was a third and a fourth in ranger jackets too, the last one carrying something big and square. A radio! I knew instantly who they were. The outlaws. The tide of warmth in my stomach ebbed away and left some strange wiggling things crawling inside me. How could I have thought I could outsmart them? They had stayed too. The cat meowed, and I bent and pushed it away. "Go! Scat!" I couldn't afford cat noises or any kind of noises. I couldn't afford to breathe. Why hadn't I figured on this? I should have. From somewhere I remembered me and Bobby Blue talking about his pigeons. The outlaws had to go right by my bedroom window and past my parents' windows to get to the roof. That door up there squeals like a son of a gun, and I know my birds. They're noisy. My dad's a real light sleeper. Nobody heard a thing. What a nerve those guys have. They probably enjoyed it. I told him. If it's not risky, it's not worth it, you know? And when it's scary and they win, they feel bigger than ever. It's like a game. I'd been such a wise guy when it was Bobby Blue's pigeons, but now it was me. I was their game. Somehow they'd slipped away from the rangers who'd been herding the people onto the boat. Somehow they'd gotten into the ranger hut and taken the jackets, and who knew what else? Probably broke one of the windows out at the back. The outlaws wouldn't care. Now they were warm and comfortable. Now they were ready. They kept to the shadows by the restrooms, running quickly and quietly across the open lighted space to the darkness of the road. My knees had turned to squish. Meow, the cat said, right beside me, and I spun around and started running fast up the hill. I had to hide. Not in the morgue, though. Now that they were searching, they'd look everywhere, and that's the kind of place those freaks would think of right away. Of course, it would be black in there, and I didn't think they had a light, but they'd feel their way around and find me, cowering with the Fritos bag in the darkest corner. No way! Talk about a rat in a trap. I saw the white gleam of the water tower then, and I knew it was the perfect place. I'd climb it, higher and higher. From up there, I'd be able to see where they were, and something else. I'd be able to fend them off. I had a picture of myself crouched on that platform that ran around the tank, waiting for them to come up the ladders. It would be a fort, and I could hold it forever. If only I had a cannon up there. If only I had my nice sharp hunk of concrete. But I'd left it in the morgue, and I wasn't going back for it. I wasn't taking that kind of chance. I hunched along the path, feeling with my hands for a rock, for anything. But all I found was gravelly dirt, the biggest pieces no heavier than a dime. I shoveled some of it into the pockets of my jacket, and then I wriggled under the warning rope and plowed through the long grass to the tower. The ladders were metal, attached to the crisscross scaffolding that supported the big tank on top, and I couldn't reach them. The first rung started way above my head. I jumped, but I still couldn't reach them. Oh no! Why wasn't I bigger? A few more inches would have done it. I tried climbing the wooden slats below, but I had no handhold, and I slid back down. They were coming. Any minute now, I'd hear the shuffle of their feet on the path. They'd see me here, behind the shrimpy wooden scaffolding, and there was nowhere to run. I walked backwards as far as I could without dropping off the edge of the island, and then I ran for the ladder. I ran the way a guy runs coming up for the broad jump, or with a pole in his hand to vault over the bar. The way a guy runs when he's about to be caught. My teeth were clenched. I had to reach that ladder. My eyes were fixed on its glimmer, and I jumped, feeling my muscles pop. My feet skidded on the long, wet grass, but I had enough thrust for the leap. One hand was around the bottom rung, slithering, slipping, but I got the other hand on and held. I reached for the rung above, my tennies flat against the wooden slats, and then I had that rung too. My feet scrambled, walking me up till they were on the bottom rung, and I was climbing. I didn't look down, and I prayed they wouldn't look up. I didn't stop till the big gray-white tank hid me from the path below. For now, I would go no higher. They might see me against the sky as I climbed onto the platform. For the first time, I looked down. The outlaws were on the road. They seemed small from here, like stunted midgets. The cat had attached itself behind them. They passed the water tower area, and as I watched, one of them stopped over the rope that stretched in front of the morgue. I'd been right. They weren't going to miss any hiding place. A light beam sliced across the darkness, a wide, white, bright beam, bigger than a flashlight. It was a lantern, the powerful kind electricians use. Somewhere, they'd found that too. Behind it, I saw the wide, shadowy brim of Cowboy's hat and the dark, shortened tent of his poncho. Cowboy stood in the dark doorway. The other three went inside. I heard a hoarse laugh that I recognized as Jelly Beans, and then they were all outside again. If I'd been hiding here, they'd have had me for sure. I pressed myself as tightly as I could against the big metal reservoir. The truth